We all have them, right? Those moments when a brilliant business idea hits you,
Oh,
like a
absolutely.
flash of inspiration,
Yeah.
it's exhilarating, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. That initial spark is incredible.
But, and here's the catch. The journey from that initial idea to a thriving business.
Yeah, it's a whole other story.
It's a whole other ballgame, right?
Yeah.
It's a whole different world. I mean, you look at the stats on startup
Yeah,
failures.
it's a bit sobering.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a reality check, isn't it? And even those massive companies we see today, the ones that seem like overnight successes,
Right. They make it look so easy.
well, you dig a little deeper and you realize their paths were anything but straight lines. They had to adapt, pivot, change course, probably 100 times over to get where they are.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that initial idea might have had a spark of brilliance in it, but the journey to success, well, it's rarely ever a smooth ride.
Exactly. Uncertainty is kind of the name of the game, right?
Yeah.
They're constantly dealing with unknowns, trying to figure things out as you go. And that's exactly why having a structured approach to navigate all of that uncertainty is just so crucial.
Totally. I mean, think about it. It's like having a map in a completely uncharted territory.
That's a great analogy. And that brings us to the core of our deep dive today, Running Lean by Ash Maurya. Now, don't think of running lean as this rigid set of rules.
Yeah, it's not a paint by numbers kind of thing.
No, not at all. It's more like a strategic framework, a way of thinking to guide you on that journey, you know?
Right. It's more of a mindset, really, a way to approach building a business.
It's a systematic way to take that initial idea, that plan A, and mold it, shape it, evolve it into something that really connects with the market, with your customers.
Yeah, and crucially, it helps you do all of that before you've exhausted all your resources, before you've run out of steam.
Before you've hit that wall. It's like having that informed roadmap, but a roadmap that's flexible enough to change as you learn more.
Yeah, it's about making smarter decisions with the information you have and then getting more information.
Exactly. And this applies whether you're just starting out with a brand new venture or, if you're already within an established company,
Absolutely.
you're launching a new initiative, right?
Right.
Or maybe you're just looking to sharpen your current strategy.
Yeah, refine what you're already doing.
Refine what's already in play. The principles we're going to unpack today with Running Lean, they're incredibly valuable no matter where you are in that journey. And ultimately, it's all about boosting your chances of success. And we'll be honest about that.
Yeah, it's about giving yourself the best possible shot.
By going beyond just intuition, beyond gut feeling.
Right, moving away from just assumptions.
And really embracing what you learn through real-world validation.
Exactly. It's about testing your ideas and letting the market tell you what works.
That's it. So to guide us through this, we're going to break down 7 key sections from Running Lean.
7 sort of pillars of the methodology.
Exactly. These are the fundamental steps for navigating that tricky, sometimes very tricky path from that initial spark of an idea to a product to a business that actually works.
Yeah, and it all starts with that first step, documenting your plan A. And for that, Maurya strongly advocates for using what he calls the lean canvas.
The lean canvas. And we'll get into the specifics of that in a bit. But before we jump in, just to give you a quick overview of what we're covering today, after documenting your plan A, we'll dive into identifying the riskiest parts of that plan.
So you know where to focus.
Exactly, where to prioritize your efforts. Then we'll spend some time talking about why it's so critical to truly understand the problem you're solving, not just assuming you know.
Right, deeply understanding the problem from the customer's perspective.
From the customer's perspective. Then we'll get into how to define the solution, but in a lean and effective manner.
Not getting bogged down in unnecessary complexity.
Exactly. Once you've got something built, even in its most basic form, it's time to validate qualitatively, to get those rich, in-depth customer perspectives that you just can't get from numbers alone.
Exactly. It's about understanding the why behind the what.
Yeah, the why behind the what. Then we'll switch gears a bit and talk about how to verify quantitatively using data, metrics to guide our decisions.
Making sure the numbers back up what you're hearing.
Making sure it all lines up. And finally, we'll explore the art of iterating to success, the often necessary pivot.
Embracing change is part of the process.
Embracing the change. All right, so let's jump right into that first section, documenting your plan A.
And the lean canvas is really, it's the heart of that,
It is.
Maurya, he makes this point, and it's so important. Too many founders, they keep their business model, all those crucial ideas, locked up in their heads.
Yeah, stuck in their heads, like it's this secret formula.
Yeah, and it's almost like they're afraid to put it down on paper.
I know I've been guilty of that in the past. You get so excited about the idea.
Right, and you don't want to, I don't know, burst the bubble.
Yeah, you don't want to like jinx it by putting it out there. But Moria, he really stresses the importance of externalizing that model.
Making it tangible.
Making it tangible. And that's where the lean canvas comes in. It's basically this one-page diagram, you know? It forces you to get all those key elements of your business model out of your head and onto something that you can see, that you can share, that you can discuss.
Exactly. It becomes a shared understanding.
A shared understanding. And it's not just some static document that sits in a drawer.
No, it's a living, breathing thing.
It's a living document that evolves as you learn, as you gather feedback, as you refine your thinking.
And it's really, really powerful, especially in those early stages.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not just powerful. It has a lot of practical benefits. The first one, I think, is just sheer speed.
Speed is everything these days, right?
It is. I mean, think about those traditional business plans. 50 pages, 100 pages.
Oh, I've seen some real doorstoppers.
Yeah, and they take weeks, months, sometimes to put together, right? But with a lean canvas, you can sketch out several different models.
Yeah, in an afternoon.
In an afternoon, right? It's that fast.
You can get so much done in such a short amount of time.
And in the business world, speed is a huge advantage.
Huge.
Especially for startups.
Especially startups. I mean, think about it. Your competitor's busy writing that massive business plan while you've already tested 3 different models with potential customers.
You're already out there getting real-world feedback.
Yeah, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And you haven't wasted months on assumptions.
And haven't wasted months on something that might be completely off base.
Exactly. So that speed also translates directly into efficiency. You're not bogged down in all this documentation before you even know if your idea has legs.
Yeah, you're avoiding that potential for just massive wasted effort.
Right. So you're being lean in the truest sense of the word.
And then there's the conciseness of it. It forces you to get to the heart of what matters. I mean, it's one page, right?
One page. You have to make it count.
So you're really distilling your entire business model down to its most essential elements.
Yeah, you're stripping away all the fluff.
The fluff, all the nice-to-haves, all the things that sound good on paper but might not actually be critical to your success.
Right. You're getting down to the core value proposition.
And that's crucial for communicating your idea effectively, right?
Absolutely. Whether you're pitching to investors or talking to potential customers.
Or just explaining it to your team, that clarity and brevity, it just cuts through the noise.
It helps you focus on what truly matters.
And then, of course, there's the portability. It's one page. You can take it anywhere.
It's like your business model in your pocket.
Yeah. Email it, print it out, scribble notes on it.
Update it as you learn.
Update it as you learn. It's not meant to be static.
No, it's meant to be a working document.
It's a working, living, breathing thing.
That's it. And it makes collaboration so much easier. Your team can rally around it. Investors can see it clearly. Advisors can provide feedback.
Yeah, everyone's on the same page, literally.
Literally. And it evolves with you. As you get feedback, as you learn, you update the canvas. It's a constant process of refinement.
So it's pretty clear that using a lean canvas has a lot of advantages, but what happens if you choose not to use it? What are the risks?
Well, Moria outlines a few, and they're actually pretty common pitfalls. One of the biggest ones is what he calls the reality distortion field.
The reality distortion field. What a great term.
Yeah, it's catchy, isn't it? And it basically describes what happens when your ideas only exist in your own head.
Like you're in your own little bubble.
Yeah, you're in your own bubble. And in that bubble, everything looks amazing.
Yeah, everything's perfect.
Everything's perfect.
Yeah.
And it's easy to become biased, to overlook flaws, you know.
Because you're so close to it, so invested.
Exactly. You're so emotionally invested that you might not see the cracks. You might think everyone loves your idea, even if they're, you know, politely nodding along.
Even if their body language is screaming, run away.
Yeah. That's the danger. You end up seeking out information that confirms your beliefs, even if it's not entirely accurate.
It's like confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias, exactly. And that can be a real trap.
A real trap. And then there's the wasted time. I mean, think about all the hours, all the energy that goes into creating those massive traditional business plans.
Yeah, weeks and weeks of work.
Based on assumptions that might be totally wrong. And then what? You have to start all over.
Right. You've invested all this time in a document that's essentially outdated before it's even finished.
It's painful, isn't it? I mean, that time could have been spent talking to customers,
Yeah, getting real feedback.
testing things out in the real world.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the communication issue. If you don't have a clear, concise way to communicate your business model, it's like trying to build a house without a blueprint.
Yeah, it's like everyone's speaking a different language.
You end up with this misalignment where your team's going in one direction, investors are thinking something else, advisors are saying something different.
It's a recipe for chaos, isn't it?
Total chaos. So the lean canvas, it really is this foundational tool. It gets everyone on the same page, quite literally.
Literally. So how are companies actually using the lean canvas here in the US? I mean, it's not just a theoretical concept, right?
No, it's very much in practice, and it's being used by companies of all sizes at all stages.
So let's start with those early stage startups, the ones just getting off the ground. How are they using it?
Well, for them, it's become the go-to method for outlining their initial hypotheses
Like before they invest heavily.
before they invest heavily,
Right.
before they start building out a full product.
It's almost like a rapid prototyping approach for your business model.
Yeah, exactly. You sketch out your idea on the lean canvas, you get it out there, you start gathering feedback, and you iterate.
And the benefit here is pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, it saves them a ton of time and money.
Yeah, because they're not sinking all those resources into building something that might not be what the market wants.
Exactly. They're testing their assumptions early, and they're pivoting quickly if they need to.
And it's not just for startups. We're also seeing product development teams within
Yeah.
bigger companies using the lean canvas, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's becoming more and more common.
And for them, it's less about starting from scratch and more about
Visualizing and communicating?
visualizing and communicating.
Yeah, the business model for a new product or a new feature.
Yeah, like if they're launching something new, right?
Right.
And it ensures that everyone on the team, from the developers to the marketers to the sales folks,
Right.
everyone's on the same page about the problem they're solving,
Who the target customer is.
who they're targeting,
Yeah, what the core value proposition is.
the value proposition. And ultimately, that leads to better products.
Products that are more likely to meet market needs and actually be successful.
That's it. And then you've also got accelerators and incubators, these programs designed to help early stage startups succeed, right?
Yeah, like mentorship programs, providing resources.
Resources, guidance, and they're increasingly using the lean canvas as a foundational tool for the entrepreneurs they're supporting.
Oh, yeah. It's become a core part of their curriculum.
And why is that?
Well, it helps these founders articulate their business model more clearly.
Get it all out there.
Refine it.
Refine it.
And that, in turn, increases their chances of achieving that all-important product-market fit and ultimately becoming more attractive to investors.
Attractive to investors, because
Sure.
investors, they want to see that validation, right? They want to see that you've done your homework.
Absolutely. They want to see that you've de-risked your business model as much as possible.
So a lot of successful examples out there, but there are also companies that choose not to use these strategies, right?
Yeah, and they often fall into some predictable traps.
Predictable traps. Like what?
Well, one of the biggest ones is this idea of building in stealth.
Building in stealth.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
It's basically this fear that if you talk about your idea too early, someone's going to steal it.
Oh, so they keep it all secret.
Super secret, yeah. And it's understandable to a point,
But
it comes at a cost.
a big cost, because they're missing out on all that valuable early feedback.
They're building in a vacuum,
Yeah, and they might end up with a product that nobody wants.
which is the ultimate irony, right?
It is. And, you know, sometimes that secrecy can even stifle innovation.
Yeah, because you're not getting those outside perspectives.
You're not getting those different viewpoints, that cross-pollination of ideas.
And then there's the overinvestment in those big, detailed business plans right from the start.
Yeah, spending months on a document that might be obsolete before it's even finished.
And it's often based more on intuition than actual market validation.
More on gut feeling than, you know, hard evidence.
And then, of course, there's the issue of a lack of shared vision, which we talked about a bit earlier.
Right, everyone's operating from a different understanding of the business.
And without a tool like the lean canvas to really crystallize that vision.
It's easy for things to get misaligned, and efforts get duplicated or they contradict each other.
And ultimately, progress slows down. You're not moving as quickly or as efficiently as you could be.
So it's pretty clear that documenting your plan A is a crucial first step.
Absolutely. And the lean canvas is such a valuable tool for that.
It really is. So how can our listeners actually succeed in business by using this principle? What's the key takeaway here?
I think the biggest thing is to shift your mindset a little bit. Start treating your business model, not just the product, but the entire business model,
as the product.
as the product that you're constantly iterating on.
Constantly iterating on. That's a great point.
And you use the lean canvas to really document your hypotheses about all the key elements. Your customer segments, your value proposition, your revenue streams, your channels.
It's all there on the canvas.
And then you systematically test those hypotheses.
In the real world.
In the real world, based on actual feedback from customers. And you refine and you adjust and you keep iterating.
It's about taking that initial idea, that spark of inspiration, and turning it into a business model that's grounded in reality, not just assumptions.
Exactly. You're moving from intuition to validation.
From intuition to validation. All right, so you've got your plan A documented on the lean canvas. What's next?
Well, the next step in running lean is all about focusing your energy. And that means identifying the riskiest parts of your plan.
The riskiest parts. Why is that so important?
Because, building a successful business, it's not just about having a great idea. It's also about managing risk. It's about strategically mitigating those risks.
And you do that by figuring out which of your assumptions, if proven wrong, would have the biggest negative impact.
Exactly. You've got all these assumptions laid out on your lean canvas. Which ones, if they were false, would completely derail your business?
And identifying these riskiest parts, it gives you a few really important advantages, right?
Yeah, several. First off, it helps you prioritize your efforts.
Prioritize. Focus on what matters most.
Exactly. You have limited time, limited resources, so you want to focus on testing those assumptions that carry the most weight. If those are wrong, everything else is kind of moot.
Yeah, it's like tackling the biggest potential problems first.
Addressing the things that could sink your ship.
Exactly. And it also, it speeds up your learning process, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. The riskiest parts, they're usually the areas where you have the least certainty.
Where you're kind of operating in the dark.
Yeah. So by tackling those head on, you're going to learn the most, and you're going to learn it quickly. You're basically confronting those unknowns, and that's how you gain real knowledge.
It's like the more you know, the less you don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that knowledge is power. It allows you to adapt, to pivot, to make better decisions.
So you're not just throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks.
You're making calculated bets.
Calculated bets. And then, of course, there's the efficient resource allocation.
Especially for startups.
Especially for startups. They got limited resources, right?
A limited runway.
Oh, so they need to make every dollar, every hour count.
Yeah, every decision has to be strategic.
Strategic. So by focusing on validating those core, those riskiest assumptions, those make or break assumptions, you're ensuring that your resources are being used wisely.
You're not wasting time and money on things that might not matter in the long run.
Exactly. So what happens if you don't do this? If you don't identify those riskiest parts, what are the consequences?
Well, the biggest one, and I think every entrepreneur fears this, is building something nobody wants.
The classic build it and they will come fallacy, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You can't just assume there's a market for your product. You have to validate that assumption.
Validate. Test it in the real world.
And if you don't do that, you run the risk of spending months, even years, building a product that nobody cares about.
It's the ultimate waste, isn't it?
Yeah, of time, of effort, of money. And it can be really demoralizing for a team.
It's heartbreaking, really, when you've poured your heart and soul into something.
Absolutely. And then another consequence is delayed validation.
So you're putting off the hard questions.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
You might be busy perfecting your website or your logo or your marketing materials, but you haven't actually validated the core assumptions about your product, about your target market, about your value proposition.
So you're putting all this effort into the window dressing.
Window dressing, yeah, but the foundation might be shaky.
Might be shaky. And then, of course, there's the wasted investment.
Which is a big one, especially for startups looking to raise funding.
Investors, they want to see that you've de-risked your business.
Yeah, they're looking for evidence of traction, of validation.
If you haven't addressed those key risks early on, it's going to be a much harder sell.
It's like asking someone to invest in a house that hasn't passed inspection.
Yeah, it's a risky proposition.
Very risky. So how are companies actually using this principle? What are some real-world examples?
Well, one thing we're seeing a lot of companies do, and this is really smart, is they're focusing on achieving problem-solution fit before they go all in on product development.
They're making sure they're solving a real problem for a real group of people.
Validating the problem, right?
Validating the problem. And they're doing that through things like problem interviews.
Problem interviews, so you're actually talking to potential customers, not to sell them anything.
No, not to them.
So to really understand their pain points.
Yeah, their frustrations, their needs, their current workarounds.
And this is a profitable approach because
you're avoiding building features or even entire products that nobody actually needs.
Yeah, you're not wasting resources on solutions to problems that don't exist.
And you can apply this by, looking at your lean canvas, identifying those one or two assumptions that, if they were wrong, would invalidate your whole business model. And then test those assumptions first.
Test those first. Yeah. Prioritize them.
Prioritize them. For example, let's say you're building a project management tool, and you're assuming that project managers struggle with keeping their teams on track and meeting deadlines.
That's your core assumption.
Yeah. So your first step should be to go out and actually talk to project managers and really dig into whether that assumption is true. Are they struggling with that? How are they currently solving it? What are their biggest frustrations?
So not just assuming you know the answer.
No, actually going out there and finding out.
And then there's the testing of the value proposition, or the UVP, very early in the process.
Yeah, you want to make sure that what you're offering actually resonates with your target audience.
That is something they actually want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can test this through things like landing pages, A/B testing, different versions of your messaging.
So you're putting different variations out there and seeing which one performs best.
Yeah. And this helps you refine your messaging, make sure you're communicating the core benefits that your customers actually value.
So you're not just guessing.
No, you're letting the market tell you what works. And that can have a huge impact on your sales down the line. If you have a compelling UVP, it attracts customers.
Yeah, it makes them want to learn more.
And it makes it easier to convert them into paying customers.
And then the last thing that companies are doing really well is they're iterating on their customer segments.
Yeah, because sometimes your initial idea of who your ideal customer is might not be quite right.
Yeah, you might have to adjust.
You might have to adjust based on what you learn from the market. And that's okay.
It's okay to be wrong. It's about learning and adapting, right?
Absolutely. So companies are testing different segments. They're doing customer interviews. They're analyzing data.
To figure out who's the best fit.
Yeah. Who's most likely to benefit from their product? Who's most likely to become a loyal customer?
And this can have a big impact on things like customer acquisition and retention.
Yeah, because if you're targeting the right people, they're more likely to stick around.
They're more likely to be happy, to be engaged, to tell their friends.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot.
So we've talked about what companies are doing well, but what about the mistakes? What are some common mistakes that companies make when it comes to identifying those riskiest parts?
Well, one of the biggest ones is falling in love with the solution.
Yes. The classic falling in love with your own idea trap.
It's a trap a lot of entrepreneurs fall into.
It's understandable, right? I mean, you're passionate about your idea.
Yeah, you've put your heart and soul into it.
But the problem is you can become so attached to the specific features, to the functionality, that you lose sight of whether it actually solves a real problem for people.
You're so focused on the solution, you forget to validate the problem.
Exactly. And that can be a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, because you might end up building a beautiful product that nobody needs.
A beautiful product that just sits on the shelf, gathering dust.
And then another common mistake is just assuming market demand.
So not actually doing the research?
Not doing the research. Not talking to customers. Just assuming that because you think it's a great idea, everyone else will too.
It's a dangerous assumption to make.
Very dangerous. Because the market might not be there. Or the market might be different than what you thought it was.
And then you're stuck.
Yeah, with a product that's not meeting any real needs.
And finally, there's the issue of spreading resources too thin.
Trying to do too much at once.
Trying to do too much without really focusing on validating the core of your business model. So you're trying to build the product and market it and get funding and hire people.
Yeah, all at the same time.
It's just too much.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And you end up doing everything half-assed.
Yeah. You're not doing anything particularly well.
And that's a surefire way to burn through your resources quickly.
And potentially kill your business before it even has a chance to get off the ground.
Exactly. So the key takeaway here is to really embrace that de-risking mindset.
De-risking. So what does that actually mean in practice?
It means systematically identifying those assumptions that could break your business.
The assumptions that, if they were wrong, would be the most damaging.
Right. Prioritizing those assumptions based on their potential impact and how likely they are to be false.
So you're focusing on the biggest threats first.
Exactly. And then, most importantly, dedicating your resources to actually testing those assumptions.
Not just assuming you know the answer.
No. Getting out there and getting real-world feedback.
And being willing to adjust based on what you learn.
Yeah. Being flexible, being adaptable.
Because in the early stages of a business, it's all about mitigating risk. It's about survival.
It's about giving yourself the best possible chance of success.
Exactly. All right, so we've documented our plan A on the lean canvas. We've identified the riskiest parts, and now we're moving on uh, to really getting into the heart of the matter, understanding the problem.
This is where it all starts, really. Before you even start thinking about solutions,
Before you even get to the how,
you have to understand the why.
understand the why. Why is this so important?
Because if you don't truly understand the problem you're trying to solve,
You might end up building the wrong thing.
exactly, you might build a solution that nobody needs, or a solution that doesn't solve the problem in the right way.
So it's about more than just identifying a problem. It's about really understanding it on a deep level, right?
Yeah, it's about understanding the nuances of the problem, the context, the different perspectives,
The pain points.
the pain points, and this deep understanding, it pays off in a few really important ways.
It does. First of all, it leads to building products that people actually desire.
Things that people want, things that people need, not just things that are kind of cool.
Not just gimmicks.
No, things that solve real problems.
Things that people are willing to pay for.
Exactly, because they provide real value.
And it also helps you identify viable solutions.
So solutions that actually work, solutions that are practical, solutions that are feasible.
And not just pie in the sky ideas.
No, not pie in the sky. Things that can actually be built and sold and scaled.
And then this problem understanding is also really important for targeting those early adopters.
Yeah, those are the people who are most likely to try out your product in the early stages.
The ones who are really feeling the pain.
They're the ones who are actively looking for a solution.
They're the ones who are going to be most forgiving of those early bumps in the road, right?
Yeah, they're going to give you valuable feedback. They're going to help you shape the product.
So what happens if you don't do this? If you don't really take the time to understand the problem?
Well, you run the risk of solving non-existent problems.
Solving problems that don't actually exist. That's a scary thought.
Yeah, and it happens more often than you might think.
Because you're so focused on your solution, you haven't actually validated whether there's a real problem there. We all have them, right? Those moments when a brilliant business idea hits you.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
a flash of inspiration.
Yeah.
It's exhilarating, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. That initial spark is incredible.
But, and here's the catch. The journey from that initial idea to a thriving business.
Yeah, it's a whole other story.
It's a whole other ballgame, right?
Yeah.
It's a whole different world. I mean, you look at the stats on startup failures.
Yeah, it's a bit sobering.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a reality check, isn't it? And even those massive companies we see today, the ones that seem like overnight successes.
Right. They make it look so easy.
Well, you dig a little deeper and you realize their paths were anything but straight lines. They had to adapt, pivot, change course, probably 100 times over to get where they are.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that initial idea might have had a spark of